Welcome back, everybody. Protobro here, infamous brother of Megabro. Continuing on with the Let's Play of AGEOD, Civil War II. Gonna start from west to east here. As you can see, moving troops back from Prima Village down to Tucson. Not quite sure when I went up here, but I did, so now I'm going back. I do have infantry here. They're gonna build up. I think I'm building some artillery here, yeah. Bring it up, hopefully, if I can at some point make a move on Prima Village. I doubt it, but perhaps I can hold Tucson. So that's the goal there. Besieging Fort Craig. I'm going to go all out. Hopefully I can take it. I've never done an all-out siege with just cavalry, but we'll see. Although these are light cavalry, which basically means they're mounted infantry. So my hope is I can take Fort Craig and then burn it. I'm trying to just get military control of this area to give me a nice little buffer between his area up here and mine down here. Perhaps I can move up and take some of these cities with Baylor. Well, we will see. It doesn't make sense, by the way, for me to make him a division commander because I do actually lose some command points, so I'm not going to do that. Over in the Missouri theater, let's say campaign theater, not a whole lot going on. Given because it's winter time and so forth, I'm kind of just pulling back a little bit. I did burn some forts over here, so I'm moving over to Fort Cobb, for example, try and take that one out and so forth, but not a whole lot going on over here in the moment. I did decide to kind of hold off pushing on St. Louis. I think it's going to be suicide to try and do it this time of year. So what I do have, though, is I have a nice little area of military control here because I put my cavalry out in front of Johnston before he moved up to Salem. So I think I put the cavalry here, and then I assailed Cairo, and then once I took Cairo, I moved on Salem. So now I have this nice little pocket of military control, which allows me to use the rail system freely, as well as provide a better supply to my army up here. I split my army in two, so I have Army of Tennessee holding down Salem, Illinois, and then move Van Dorn's army over to this area right here, hoping to use the river as a nice little defensive area. I figure, you know, if he moves to 408 or even higher in this kind of year across these rivers and so forth, it's going to be very difficult for him to assail a position either up here. Now, he could go down south here and take Chester, Illinois, this supply stock of 135, which could be very beneficial to him. If he does that, I'm going to have to reevaluate my situation, but I think at least for the time being, I'll be okay. The weather both helps me and hurts me. It hurts me in the sense I can't move on St. Louis, but also helps me in the sense that he's not going to be able to move all the way down to Cairo like perhaps he would like to do. But I still have a large enough army, I feel like, that even if he made a move on Cairo, by the time, you know, he besieged it and so forth, I could get back down there and deal with him pretty well. So not too worried about that. Grant might be making a move on my right flank. It definitely makes sense if I were him to do that, because I've got this area locked down. I just built a fort here, as you can see, and I've got Molesbury kind of locked down a little bit. Bowling Green is not assailable yet, so if he comes down here, I suppose he could do that. Now, if I were him, the concern would be, you know, your rail system. You're leaving your rail system, and you're kind of putting yourself in a position to get cut off from your chain of supply. So if he wants to do that, fine. But here's what I got at Bowling Green currently. Really, it's what's right here. I did bring Hinman up because of this bonus here, 5-point bonus to cohesion and 20% cohesion recovery to speed to militia. And then I got Hardy here for training. So I figured between the two of them, you know, he'll be providing a bonus to the militia, and then once they get trained up, you know, then Hardy will be providing that benefit to the militia to train them up. I also have Bragg over here providing training, so he's got a +1 to training as well. So I'm building militia here currently, and I'm just going to build conscripts and militia down here at Nashville, train them up and move them forward. I don't know how long it takes, 1 point per turn, so my goal here is eventually bring Johnston over, and then I can take Hardy and move him back here with Bragg and use the two of them to train up troops. I don't know when Bragg's going to be here. Yeah, that's a good question. that him? That's him. There's Johnston. Okay, 12 days. Good, so I'll have him next turn. And then I'll create an army out here. So I'll have 3 armies. I'll have Johnston, Beauregard, and Johnson. Or Johnston and Johnston. Sounds like a baby powder. But I'll have both of them over there. I'll have 2 of my armies on the west. Okay, on the east side of things, sorry for bouncing around on you a little bit. I do have this force hanging out here in Alexandria, which is a 501 force. Little concerning. I'm hoping that between Johnson's force here and then my 169 here, I can hold off any kind of a attack that he might put on Manassas. We'll see, though. I probably want to take that supply, actually, and stick him, give him that bonus. So, I'm moving 12-pound artillery up on Fredericksburg, as well as Culpeper, so I'll have 12-pound artillery there as my 3rd line of defense. I do now have a stockade here, so I'm going to have to start setting up a line of defense here. He's inside, though, and that's intentional. I do want my guy inside there for the port. I feel like I need to move him over just in case that guy makes a move. That way at least I have a general leading. Jackson's force up here, as you notice, it's 1446. It's pretty strong for a force I'm not currently using. It doesn't make sense to make a move on Fredericks, Maryland, though, because I'm not going to push that initiative any further. And I'm a little, I don't know what the force is right here under Heinzelman. If I knew how many troops he actually had there, I probably would make a move on it with one of my divisions. That being said, he's got a fat force right here. So he could totally, by rail, move up here and assail Harper's Ferry or Alexandria. Knock on wood, I think I have the numbers to fight off an attack on either one of those. So I'm going to hold pat. I'd hate to break up one of my divisions here, send it over to try and take Morgantown, and then only to lose Harper's Ferry. That'd be really bad. So I'm gonna hold off. Just using my cavalry here to build some more military control. So here we have 92. I'm trying to get 100. I have 100 here along the railway, 100 here on the railway, and then obviously 100 here on the Harper's Ferry. So just trying to get 100% military control wherever I can on the rail system. So I'm moving more cavalry right here, and then I have cavalry right here. Trying to get, again, 100% military control. Though I need to move him back, actually. Get him back in. Get him resupplied. Down here, West Virginia, not a whole lot going on. I am bringing a supply train over here because his supply is about gone. He's got 23 points and his use is 11 per turn. So I'm bringing supply because by the time it gets there, it'll be on turn 2. And then I got obviously my Covington force there. And beyond that, not a whole lot else going on. He has managed to make a nice little place for himself down here, which is pretty annoying. Haven't quite decided if I'm just going to hold here and just bottle him up, or if I should actually make a move on him at some point. We'll see. But yeah, so let's see. The Trent affair. Confederate President Jefferson Davis, seeking support against the North, sent diplomats James Mason of Virginia as a minister to Britain and John Slidell of Louisiana as minister to France. Eluding the Union blockade, the Southerners reached Cuba, where they boarded a British mail steamer, the Trent, for passage across the Atlantic Ocean. On November 8, 1861, the USS Santa Jacinto halted the Trent 300 miles east of Savannah with 2 shots across the bow. A boarding party from the San Jacinto seized the Confederate diplomats and their secretaries by force, but then allowed the Trent to resume its voyage. This decision became a source of controversy, with the British claiming that the San Jacinto had violated international law by removing persons from a ship without taking the ship to a prize court for adjudication. The Trent arrived in England on 27 November, but Lord Russell, British Foreign Secretary, informed Lord Lyons, Minister to the United States, that the affair was considered an aggression against England, and an ultimatum was sent 19 December. Interesting. Alright, so here's the attack on Salem. Looked like Sumner was actually there. Very interesting. We had no troops lost. He just pulled out of there. And I'm not quite sure where that's at, but whatever. Alright. I don't think there were really any other things to note. Let me just run through here. We did run some blockades, bringing supplies and cash apparently. Harvest time for cotton has arrived. Several new decisions. And some of your ships managed to smuggle cotton for 50. I don't like using the cotton option on my card here. I like to roll the dice and hope I get that 50,000, which we just did, so that's why I don't do that. I burned through all my cash. As you can see, we're building a boatload of artillery. Again, with that eye towards defense. That being said, I'm probably going to run out of reserves there, but we'll, I guess, deal with that when it comes. Dude, the lightning is crazy outside right now. Okay, we got 4 money and 8 war supply from the blockade. Alright, so let's go forward with the turn, see what happens. Good lord, he is like mega loading up there at DC. 37,000 troops. Alright, so we got a Confederate. Why do we. Oh, that's because that's the guy that's hanging out in Alexandria. Although we lost, we did not make the activation roll, which is a little concerning. I don't think it affects you on the defense, but 48,000, wow. I mean, the good news is that that force isn't being used to besiege one of our coastal cities. This is over in Kentucky. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to hang up there at Salem, Illinois with Johnston, rather. A lot of movement, but not a lot of combat. Which, for us, is good, I suppose. Looks like Grant's pulling back, that's good. The more I think about it, if I'd flipped the, the table around and I was Grant, I would not have gone after my right flank. Because he would have exposed his supply line. That is thunder outside, by the way. It is thundering outside. It's pretty cool. Wow, he's reinforcing down there in Texas, huh? Alright, so not a whole lot of battle, but got Johnston up here, which is excellent because we're going to create an army with that. So check this out. So if you take RDs and put them in there with that, we've got 4 of 8, but that didn't really do us much good, right? So take Johnston, promote him, and now look how big our command point penalty is. 18. We can have 18 command points. So we are going to do that. So that's going to be our 3rd army right there. So we got Johnston up there. We've got Army of the Mississippi, which I knew was going to happen. Kind of wish these were flipped. Like that was the Army of Mississippi and that was the Army of Tennessee. It would make a lot more sense. Whatever. Maybe I could flip the 2 of them. Alright, so we got here and here. I need to get some cavalry down there actually and get some military control over that. He is making the move, it looks like, here, so let's go offense. Push him out. How's our military control here? It's good. So I'm going to try and get military control of this over here. Let's see here. Okay. And I'll try and hold on to this here. We got him in there. Good, good, good. Okay, so I'm going to need to put a force here, obviously. What'll be nice is once we have core control, then I can have an army parked probably here at Montgomery and then have a core or something. We'll see. Or a core right here and then, or army here, core and core. That'd be nice. This is really starting to annoy me, but it's kind of getting to that point where I feel like maybe I just leave them alone and just hold on to what I got down here. I got my artillery here, so I can move that down into that. Okay, let me make my moves, and I'll be back to go over everything with you. Thanks, guys. East to west, it's early December 1861. We're moving our infantry up here to eastern Arizona. Infantry being a loose form of infantry. It's really just some volunteers, not a whole lot going on there. We do have artillery here that I'm going to be moving up slowly up to Tucson. Who knows if I'll end up being able to hold this, I don't know. I would love Pima Village just because it does have a little bit of a stockade there. That'd be a nice little line of defense against the Union, but we'll see. Currently blockading Fort Craig. It looks like we missed our activation roll with Baylor, whatever his name is, because when I clicked him, he was on the defensive, whereas last turn he was on the offensive, so I think we missed our activation turn. So I put him back on full assault. Hopefully we can take Fort Craig and then burn it. I do have my wonderful rangers up here trying to get more military control and providing a bit of a buffer between us and the Union. Up here we are trying desperately, where's my guy at? Trying desperately to get some resources. I don't know if he's gonna make it. He is out of supply, so that's problematic, but we will keep trying. Yeah, so it's it's a struggle. He may end up just starving to death, but oh well. He starved to death valiantly. Missouri, not a lot going on because of the weather. Really, neither me nor him can really do a whole lot. He does have this little fort here. I don't know if there's a fort there or not, but I got troops at all 3 of these points. I'm not quite sure what he expects to accomplish. A little bit of maneuvering here with cavalry, but nothing important. Okay, so big things going on up here. So this is St. Louis, east of St. Louis. For whatever reason, he moved Halleck over here. He does have... Who is this? Is this... Yeah, this is 3-star. I forget this guy's name. But he's off to the west. I don't know if he's got any troops or not. So I'm going to try to take St. Louis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my force down here to Chester, Illinois. I'm going to use the river and try and land either like here at Union, Missouri, and then move on St. Louis, Missouri, or something like that. We'll see. So I got some cavalry going forward to Hill, Missouri to get a little bit of military control going on. We already have 64%, but I'm trying to get more. Or, sorry, the Union has 64%. We have 36%, so I'm going to try and get a little bit more. I'm going to leave a little bit of a force here up at Howard, Illinois, just to cover any kind of eastern approach. I'm going to burn or tear up the railroad lines over here. That does leave, I'm going to leave Salem completely undefended. But I think that'll be okay because I do have the rail line torn up here, and given the weather, I don't see him being able to move in 14 days to Salem. Nevertheless, it's not really that big of a deal because I'm moving my army of the Tennessee back down to Chester. I'm going to rally up here, and then next turn move up the river, and then hopefully late December besiege St. Louis. We'll see. That'll be interesting because of the weather. I'm not quite sure how things are going to go. I did create the Army of Mississippi over here, so we're kind of flipped. We got the Army of Tennessee over there, Army of Mississippi over here, under Johnston. We've got a power of 441 currently, but I'm also building more troops in Nashville and Kentucky. I got Bragg down here training up my militia. So as you can see, they're currently listed as militia, but they're already up to volunteers, and that's because I think Bragg's been training them. So I'm going to do a lot more of that, and hopefully by the springtime he has trained up some regiments to either a volunteer or even perhaps conscript status. We'll see. That's what's going on there. And then over on the east, not a whole lot going on. I'm trying to reinforce Lewisburg with a supply train. I've got Covington locked down pretty well. And then over here, I've got 1,200 power countered by his 5,300 power. Not quite sure how that's going to play out if he attacks me. He could possibly pummel the crap out of me. I don't know. We'll see. I've got 4 entrenchment plus the entrenchment bonus, plus some, okay generals with a bunch of sharpshooters. I do have Manassas as a fallback, and then I've got Magruder's force of 1,200 up here. Part of the reason I don't transfer some forces down to Alexandria, though, is that he can use this rail line and hit Harper's Ferry this turn if he wanted. That's how quick he can use this rail line. So I'm kind of caught between no man's land right now, where I kind of have to maintain a somewhat even force against this massive force. The good news is that means he's not doing anything else behind the scenes, whether it's a coastal invasion or whatnot, because he's pretty much got everything there. I can't imagine he's got much else. I did build some more Virginia troops, but that's going to be some time before they're built. LZ's brigade, which is pretty powerful. Once it's fully up to speed, it's 200 power. I'm going to build some more troops over here in Virginia. Plus I got some Marines that I can bring up to the front line, hopefully, for both of these points, which will give us some bonuses to any kind of attempted river crossings by the enemy. Beyond that, nothing else going on. I do have this little thorn in my side going on here still. That'll be ongoing. And then the siege down here at Fort Clinch. But I'm going to slowly reinforce my Savannah force and then go after him once the force is built. I don't think there was really a whole lot in here to look at in terms of the comments. Unions commissioned more rolling stock and equipment for its railroads. We did the same. We can increase our rail pool again, but we don't have any war supply because I spent it all on troops. We did decide to print more paper money, unfortunately, which makes things a little bit more expensive. Epidemics have struck our armies in the Old Northwest Department, which is over here. So we're suffering a bit of cohesion over here, unfortunately. Not a whole lot on the battlefront. A lot of movement going on, nothing of note. And yet we took Fort Cobb, and we're going to burn it, hopefully. But with that, I think we're into the next turn. I will show you what I'm building. I'm not building any reinforcement pools on this turn, and then just a bunch of artillery, again with the intent of hopefully being set up in the spring to withstand what will be probably a significant Union onslaught. I'm really hoping I can take St. Louis before the spring. If I can accomplish that, the Union will have to do some considerable catch-up to get to where they want to be before they start assailing me down the Mississippi and whatnot. Which is fine by me. I don't necessarily anticipate holding Mississippi or St. Louis, but it'd be nice if it costs them, you know, half a year or even 4 months having to reclaim it and then reposition. Okay, good. We took that fort with Baylor, I think. He looks like he's reinforcing St. Louis. Smart move on his part, obviously. Yeah, we didn't actually take Fort Craig. I'm really worried he's just going to come down like a hammer on Alexandria. Oh wow, he's moving down on me on down in New Mexico. Interesting. You got that one force in Alexandria is just kind of hanging out. Just losing cohesion every turn. I'm not going to argue with that. By the way, I'm trying to move my ships up to Richmond, my ironclad, and then I'm going to rally all of them up and then perhaps make a move on Fort Monroe at some point. Looks like he's rallying his forces up in Kentucky. He's probably going to come down at me either in January or in the spring with probably a fairly good force led by Grant. Just want to see what's going on down. Okay, so he cut me in half. Brilliant. Oh, and he took Fort Thorne. Damn. Okay. Get him back there and let's rally up. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to have to deal with this. He doesn't have a whole lot here, but he's got enough to create some problems, so I'm going to have to deal with that. And then otherwise... Alright, so he's got a fairly good strength force there. We've got... I brought Shelby up, by the way. So we've got a 973 force, which is perfect on the command points, by the way. Beautiful. Love it. And we've got Shelby now. 644. The dude is just amazing. Probably make one or two of these a division commander, and then figure out how I want to take him on. Here's Polk. Probably put him in charge of Salem since it looks like he might make a move there. Put him in the defensive. Alright, so I wonder how long would it take me to get over here on boats? 9 days, okay. What if I went here to here? 20 days. Too long. Okay, so I think I'm going to bring my ships up to this area here. Bring my boats up here, and looks like I can probably land here and besiege him. I do have the numbers. Although, again, the weather may play a major factor on my ability to actually seize St. Louis. We'll see. I got to watch Grant pretty closely because he is over here. I don't have a whole lot holding down Cairo right now. I'm gonna have to see what I can dig up here at the bottom of the barrel here to bring him to Cairo. But otherwise, I'm gonna take a break here, make some moves, and then I will be back.